You know, it's funny because it was kind of breezy when I was yeah.
What is up, beautiful people? It's Wolf Brother Mythos from the channel Frost and Fists, and welcome to this video. Tonight we got a live stream, and it might be a little bit of a shorter live stream. I have been on the road for about 3 weeks in a row, and yeah, I'm a little bit tired, guys. There we go. So yeah, it might be a little bit of a shorter stream. We'll see how I feel. But yeah, I just wanted to hang out with you guys, do a little chatting, and do a little painting tonight. Got some beautiful people here already. Who took my dice? Have an awesome night, Mythos. You feel better soon, sir. And get some good rest, man. I hope you feel better very, 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 very soon. We got Hellworks. Good evening, my brother. And what is up, brother? My brother Atlas, whose mini I am working on tonight, by the way. Yeah, so we got some awesome people here in the chat. Yes, as the title suggests, I am working on an Ursula Creed, who is from Krieg, from the Krieg. It'll be for Brother Atlas's Krieg army, and so it'll be a Creed. And yeah, I'm looking forward to painting her up. And even though it's not necessarily a teams event, we are both on Team Imperium. So it was billed as Imperium versus Chaos, and then the Xenos armies sprinkled in wherever they need to fill in. But last we talked to the manager running the event, the people that have responded so far, the RSVPs is what I'm looking for. The RSVPs were so far more Xenos players than Chaos players. So it has been said that if we need to change things around, it might end up being Imperium versus Xenos with Chaos sprinkled in. We'll see how that goes. Either way, though, looking forward to hanging out with our brother on Team Imperium. And, we're trying to get his guard where it needs to be. He's doing a basing on his full army. And I think he said he's got some, for the 3,000 point list, he's got some, Taurox primes to paint up as well as a few bits and bobs here and there. I think he said a couple heavy weapons teams, a couple of rapier laser batteries. For myself, I'm working on one of his character models, Lady Creed, the Krieg, and also I'll be finishing up his tank, repainting and finishing up his tanks for him. So now that March from Krieg is over, I can fully focus on his Krieg army, and yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it'll all be beautiful by the time it comes to game time. We will go down to the tabletop, and we'll show you guys what I've been working on and what I will be working on tonight. So as always, y'all keep talking to me. I'm gonna keep talking to you. I will blink out with the camera for a second as I move the camera. Just don't want to make anybody motion sick. But it has been a good week, guys. Had some pretty successful business meetings and stuff like that. I did get called out of town for one of these meetings unexpectedly. So my 2 weeks out of town turned into 3 weeks out of town. But it's okay. It's all good. At least I can be happy to say I still got a job. And yeah, we're making it work. See my little travel box here. Just some, poster tack. And a nice solid box to keep my minis from getting squished in my backpack. I should stop slapping the table because it bounces the camera. That's how I take things out of town. And the mini we're working on tonight, it is this Krieg lady here. Ooh, we're going to have to get in closer when we go to work on her. Ooh, there we go. We can do it. Of course, just prime black right now. There's not a lot of detail for the camera to lock onto. But yeah, once we get some more detail down on her, some more colors down, I think she'll stand out a little bit more. And then I'll show you guys this week. I brought the Custodes out again. I mean, they're getting close to time for their codex to come out, and I thought it would be a great time to break out the Krieg and start painting them up again. And maybe this edition I'll finally get them back up to a playable level. So we did some kind of touching up on their blues, although I think I have been going about this wrong. As I was painting this one, I thought to myself, probably not for the first time, man, why am I doing the blues first when all this gold trim can be kind of difficult to get into? And then I end up splotching, because there's so much gold. I end up splotching onto the blue and have to repaint the blue in some cases anyway. So, ooh, I am not focusing in at all today. Pure, this is a real pro YouTuber stuff here. There we go. There's some focus. Anyways, so I brought this guy. This is one I painted last year, but kind of brought him along to just kind of a paint by numbers, remind myself where I put what colors. And yeah, and so I kind of was going around painting, you know, I painted the blues first. You can see the blues on this guy and this guy. And for my golds, I put down first as a base coat, just because this stuff's like liquid gold. Base looks great. Thank you again, brother. Oh, you're plenty welcome, my brother. She was kind of built up. The GW Creed bottle was kind of built up onto, like, you know, some kind of hill area, and I wanted to build her up kind of the same way. And then I'll show you something else I'm working on here in a little bit, where I want to make her just a little bit more WYSIWYG. But so my gold colors here is, first I use the Vallejo liquid metal colors. They only have one gold color, so that's what I start with. It is a little too bright and a little too green for what I want for my Custody. So then I went in with a more worn down Necro gold, and kind of went over all the places where I had the brighter gold before. Put down the Necro gold. It's still pretty bright, but trust me, by the time I put all of, you know, the oil wash and the streaking grime on, you know, it tones it way down. So I like to take it a little too bright at first, and then, you know, dirty them up. This was like one of the first armies I really wanted to go in on, you know, really like dirtying it down. And so, you know, I wanted the bright power weapons to contrast really the really grim and dirty streak and grimed armor. So yeah, it was kind of like a little contrast there. So anyways, yeah, first part done. Got my golds in. Probably go back and do my leather colors, and then start applying the silvers, and then streaking grime. Here I didn't get anywhere past the blues, which again, I think I'm doing it wrong now, because the blues are just going to need to be touched up again after I finish, you know, the golds. But c'est la vie. Tactical rocks for the win. Absolutely, absolutely. And while I have done up a bunch of tactical rocks, I have left spaces here on... Oh, hey, now she's in focus. I have left spaces here on the base for you to go in, and even though I'll paint up the rocks a sandy color, there'll be plenty of room for you to go back and add your texture sand, your AK Interactive texture sand, and kind of tie it into the look of the rest of your army. You probably put it around the gaps, you know, what few gaps there are in the edge there, but then some of the gaps in the rocks and stuff like that. Just kind of put in the texture where you want some of that sand color where you want, and yeah, it'll all tie together. So those are the things I have been up to this week. Not a lot of hobby for myself, just because, like I said, it's been kind of a busy week. Although I have done some slicing. First of all, Ted here had his arm stripped off because he was a Vexilla and Shield guy, and I just find that I like 8th and 9th edition. You couldn't get away without having a Vexilla guy, right? That -1 to hit for like you know, within 12 inches, which gave you kind of like a 24-inch bubble. It was unbelievable. You march this guy up to the middle of the field and nobody could touch your army. Unfortunately, it doesn't do that. Well, I say unfortunately. Actually, fortunately, as someone who had his butt kicked by that a lot in 8th and 9th edition, yeah, that doesn't work anymore. So the Vexilla now is just an objective control booster, and I think for myself, especially since you can't take custodies in 3s anymore, you got to take them in 4s. So I needed, another person to round out the squad. I'm gonna slap one of these Guardian Spears on this guy, and yeah, he'll make the 4th member of my first painted squad here, which he came from. So it'll be his brother. Right now, though, his brother needs some training because, try as he might, he's a bit armless. He's lost his head. Brother! Anyways, being silly. Hyped. Hyped to see it in person. Nice. I'm glad you are, brother. I'm glad you are. So, rip some arms off him. I've also got on the printer ready to go. I've got a Henry Cavill head for my Trajan Valorous, which I think is going to be, pretty rewarding. So I got a Trajan Valorous coming up. I have a couple of what are those tanks called? Anyways, the anti-tank tanks that the Custodies have. I've got a couple of those coming up to be printed. And my Trajan Valorous, that I've been kind of like stop starting on for the last year. This is where Trajan is. And I know that, a Custody should not have a Space Marine helmet on, but I just think that with the shoulders, this armor, this Custodes armor looks so pimp with an Aggressor helmet. I might leave the head like not glued in, leave it like blue tacked on or something like that, so I can swap out the heads. Or maybe I might even go so far as to magnetize, but we'll see. We'll see how much work I feel like putting in. But I just think the Aggressor helmet looks really pimp on this Custodes armor. So, anyways, that's where I'm at. I didn't like the head that comes on Valerian, but I think just this swap, plus giving him the Shield Captain's cape from the Custodes kit, where you can make your own unnamed Shield Captain. I think the helmet and the cape really set it off. Of course, that's just my opinion so far, but yeah, so add the little cape on him. And I think it just changes the look, man. I always thought that for a captain, Valerian needed a little extra flair, like a cape. I was like, how does he not have a cape, man? Now I think like the look, the Shield Captain's cape finishes him off. And I think the Aggressor helmet looks cool on him too. I might try and get a different, a Custodes helmet for him. I don't know. I'm really attached to the look of the Aggressor's helmet though. But I'm interested to see what people think. Now, what we are currently doing, the Lady Krieg here, I want to stick a sword in the ground. And so I have this old fiddly Forge World sword from the old the melee weapons upgrade pack that they sold way back in the day. And as you guys know, Forge World resin, I ended up not using a lot of the weapons in this upgrade sprue because some of the weapons can be kind of bendy and flexy. But if you're just sticking the sword in the ground and you're not having to worry about the way it looks attached to someone's wrist, that's absolutely fine. Now there was a fist here. And so what I've done is I just went in and chopped away the handle and the hand. And I've got a huge knife here from the Mark IV Space Marines. And I'm just going to chop away. And the intention is to just fit that handle onto the sword here. and see how it comes out. So that way I can presumably make one single sword out of it. And once I've done that, you know, it'll look all good stuck in the ground. Sometimes for conversions, you got those pesky hands in the way and you just got to surgically remove them. All right, aesthetically, what would have been easier is for me to chop under the handle for the knife there and just fit it right up there. However, I wanted more surface area to glue. It's going to be funny trying to do this on screen for the camera. But if I fit that like that, it doesn't look too funny. And I think I get more surface contact. Yeah, I think that'll work just fine. So we're going to sand it up. I know Brother Atlas is probably like, man, I just wanted you to paint the freaking model. And I'm over here like, we got to switch the base around and I got to build up some rocks. And now I'm like, okay, what I need to do is put a power sword on there so she's wig. It's like, man, just paint the model. I'm kidding. On anything I've ever worked on for Atlas, he's been absolutely gracious. All right. Got a little file. So, mention I want to have plenty of surface contact, and we want to make sure that the pieces are touching flush, so that way everything we glue on fits nice and smooth. So we're just sanding away with this little file to make sure that as much sits flush as possible. Another reason I decided to start working on my custodies, not only because it's time for their codex, which means, you know, I'm a little hyped for it. Plus, you know, we can try and ride that algorithm a little bit. But also, I've been watching live streams from Hound's Armory. Great channel. And yeah, definitely recommend if you like some hobby live streams. Really good channel. Go check them out. But he has a Custodes army, and he's trying to finish all of his Custodes this year. And of course, seeing him work on his, I was just like, okay. You guys know I'm easily influenced. And I'm like, you know what? I'm getting the urge to work on my Custodes. All right, so we're going to put a drop of glue. We're going to leave it here to sit for a second. Just a second. We're going to take some of my favorite super glue bonder, Kraken. Wow. And we're just going to spray a little bit onto the handle that we want to stick. And theoretically, when I put them together, it should fit nice and smooth. I really should be bringing this up to my face instead of trying to do this part on camera, but haha. Hey, look at that. First try. It fits nice and smooth. I know attaching a sword handle onto a handle that had a fist is like a super basic ass conversion, but yeah, the fact that that came out smooth and flush first try, that's a win for me. Now, just to make sure everything's set correctly, I'm going to take it off. Well, hit it just a little bit more bonder. Make sure everything is nice and snug. Alright, Atlas, since I got you here, I was considering just sticking it into a rock somewhere. But we can also put put it at her hip if you like an officer. I've just got my fist on the screen, don't I? Okay, yeah, I was thinking of just sticking it onto a rock. Like, you know, she stuck it down and drew both of her pistols. But also, I mean, you know, since you're here, could do the officer thing and equip it to her hip like that. You know, I think it would fit just fine there. And then, of course, yeah, either of those things could be, you know, easily done. But you just let me know what you want. But yeah, and that brings her, of course, you know, she's got her twin pistols on her data sheet, but she's also got her power sword, so, you know, this brings her up to being a little more WYSIWYG. Brother Roxas, yo! That's the GM I was telling you about that I am playing in the Vampire the Masquerade campaign this upcoming. We got a Discord going now. Shove it in the rock. Absolutely. Can do. We got a Discord going now. People are starting to submit their characters. I think we might be looking at getting into a game sometime soon. I know I keep asking you too many questions, Brother Atlas. What color do you have a hair color preference for the Creed of Krieg? Alright, we're going to start dry brushing some details onto this young lady here. It's funny because when I first got this Creed model, I thought she had a hood on, and actually she's got her long, luscious locks of hair on top. And so, yeah, so got to double check and see what will be a good hair color for. This is pewter gray. We're just giving a quick dry brush to. And this is a golden maple dry brush. And actually, it's got like the rounded tip, but like just, yeah, it's just a very subtle roundness at the end. And it has really, I used to prefer like flat edge dry brushes. But I don't know, after working between the ghost brush and these maple dry brushes, really started changing my mind and enjoying these slightly rounded ones. I would say blonde, but white may look cool with the blue trench coat. Okay. Yeah, I think, you know, it's funny because, well, Friday night tradition, Lily and I like to watch like you know, these video game list videos from Outside Xbox, Outside Extra, and PlayStation Access and similar kind of channels. As part of our Friday night ritual, we'll get some takeaway. We'll just kind of sit together before I start my show and watch some of these, you know, list videos. And anyways, one of the videos from PlayStation Access was video game villains who just won't die. And it mentions how you fight in the Devil May Cry series across 5 games. You fight your twin brother Virgil 17 times. 17 times. Anyways, what made me think of that is that I think the white hair with the blue greatcoat would definitely give me some of those Virgil vibes, because Virgil's known for having some he's got like a royal blue or a light blue trench coat or a dark blue trench coat, depending on which game it is. but the white hair always stays the same. So anyways, that's why it kind of gives me those vibes. So yeah, I've got Devil May Cry hot on my mind. So, you know, that's one of the options you got down. White hair, blue coat. That's probably what I'm going to go with, man. Oh man, before she was just a black blur on the screen, and now just a single dry brush of pewter gray. You can definitely see her details a lot more crisply now. Now we're going to set her aside for a moment and stick her in front of my fan that I've got here next to the desk, and we're going to take a look at this mini. Last week, some of you were here, and I've been asked a few times, hey man, what happened to the stream from Friday? Because I know a lot of my friends tend to view my stream the next day, you know, or Saturday, Sunday, you know, get up. I've heard, you know, like a friend of the show, Pickle Jar, and a couple others have said that they'll get up and they'll watch the show on, you know, Saturday or Sunday morning with coffee, which is cool. And yeah, so several of my friends tend to listen, you know, like the next day or whatever. And they noticed that they saw me start the stream in the evening, but didn't, you know, they went back to look at the show the next day and it was gone. That's because I was working on this guy here. Friend of the show, Al from V-Twin Gaming, was trying to walk me through some glow effects, which I think have actually come out pretty nicely. But man, I was having some issues with the airbrush. I was hitting clogs. I was hitting those sudden bursts where you release a clog and the whole airbrush like splurts and sputters. And yeah, I could tell I wasn't being very entertaining. I was getting a bit frustrated. And anyways, I went back after I turned off the screen and some of it the next morning and touched it up with a regular paintbrush. And actually, once I slept on it and looked at it, it actually came out okay despite the problems I had with the airbrush. But I did take down the video just because I was getting so frustrated with the airbrush. You know, it just wasn't entertaining to watch anymore. It was a guy who was sitting here quietly on stream being frustrated, and nobody wanted to see that. So I just went in and pulled that video down. So those who are curious, like I said, I did have several people ask. That's kind of what happened. And actually, some of the areas I'm going to touch up a little bit. But some of the areas where I may have, like the last chunk of black paint, kind of just like, it looked like just pushed like a big black blob. I wiped away as much of it as I could, and actually kind of made a shadow in some of the area that would have nicely contrasted where light was being blocked from the lantern here. I say lantern, you know, it's the little apothecary biologist science pod here, but yeah, I have it glowing kind of like a lantern, and so some of these areas probably would have been pushed into dark relief like that. So it actually may have been a blessing in disguise. I'm actually okay with it. So anyways, this guy is mostly done. I got to go in and do his eye lenses, which that is the kind of thing where I'm probably going to need to get him close to my face. I probably won't try and do this on stream because I know I really need to zone in. I might try it. I don't know. But yeah, and then just a couple little extra washes and details. Like I noticed I didn't have any wash here on this little skull here. And I could probably use another layer of Scream and Skull here. So I'll probably dress that up here right now. And we'll probably get to basing this guy sometime soon. Maybe even tonight. No mistakes, just happy little accents. Absolutely right, my brother. But also, hey, Charles, I hope you're doing well, my friend. But also, you know, I did call it a night, you know, last Friday and decided to sleep on it. And I think for some of us, or at least myself, but I'm willing to bet sometimes, you know, some of my friends around here, like yourselves, may benefit from the same thing. Sometimes it's just good to know, being able to know when you're feeling on tilt and knowing to walk away before you make it worse. And I think I was definitely feeling on tilt. And if you don't know what being on tilt is, because it's more of a video game phrase than it is a tabletop game phrase, a lot of times it's just the downward spiral where, you know, things are bad, you're in your head, and you're making it more bad, right? And so you get frustrated, so you play worse or paint worse, and which makes you more frustrated, which makes you play or paint worse, which makes you more frustrated, and yada yada yada. Bob's your uncle. And I think that's definitely where I was last Friday. So being able to come back and look at it the next morning and say, you know what? I think if I just do a little brush work to touch it up, I think we're in an okay spot. You know, I was able to do that with a clearer head the next day. A paint I've really been getting into lately. I say really getting into. I've got a handful of these. Just picking up a few here and there. But the Duncan Rhodes Too Thin paints range, I like them. They're definitely just a touch cheaper than the Games Workshop stuff. But because, you know, Duncan himself used to work for GW, is very familiar with the color range. A lot of these have a direct analog in the GW range. And so I ran out of Xandri Dust. Didn't have any more Xandri Dust. I did have some Too Thin coats at my local store. I picked up some Skeleton Legion, and it's a direct analog for Xandri Dust. You know, he's actually got a conversion chart on his website, and at least at the local store that I go to, they have his little conversion chart up there. And I also am out of Screaming Skull, so I picked up Vampire Fang, which is also the next analog, and now, boom, I've got the, you know, 2 of the 3 color set there to make up the colors that I need. The leathery skin here on the inside of this fur pelt I last did in some Xandri Dust. And so we're going to go in with some Vampire Fang, which would be the next color up. The Screaming Skull equivalent. It is a little bit bright. That might be too bright, but since it is thin, it might not, I did thin it down, it might not dry this bright, if you know what I mean. That's, especially when you thin your paints, you know, sometimes things look brighter being painted on than they're actually going to dry out. So we'll just kind of let this go. And for the love of God, stop playing with it. Okay, touch it up one more time, but then stop playing with it. And we'll see how that looks. And if it does dry and end up being too bright, we can always go back and hit it back with a little more Agrax Earth Shade. Done little today, limited motivation to get stuff done, but did get some stuff from Miniature Market. I'm sorry that you're feeling a low motivation mood today, but what kind of goodies did you get from the Miniature Market? Those of you who have seen my Ultramarines recently got in a package from Miniature Market, getting in some more of my colored flower tufts that I like putting at the bottom of my Ultramarines. And they've switched over to a smaller package, a little more efficient. They've got like 4 layers of tufts here. But they've got all the colors packed in nice and tight. But yeah, really nice. It's 168 pieces. And it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different colors, 168 pieces. But yeah, really nice. This stuff is from Shadow's Edge Miniatures. And it was like, I think, less than $10 on Miniature Market. So if anyone's interested on adding some flowers to your 40K, you know, that's a good place to start. Oh yes, I said he's almost ready for basing. I forgot on my black, like I don't do a ton of edge highlighting, but on my black armored models, I do want to go in and do some edge highlighting. So we might, if I'm feeling up to it, we'll do some edge highlighting tonight too. All right, Lady Creed here has been sat in front of the fan for a few minutes. Move up to our next layer of gray. And this is just a light gray. I have no idea what the exact color name is, because, you know, especially you sometimes use these taller paint pots or paint bottles. I'll put a little bit of tack on them and have them kind of be the stand when I'm airbrushing. Little cheapo painting handles, and so you can see I've kind of over time oversprayed the label here, but I know it's my light gray. I don't need to know its name. I just need to know the sound it makes when it takes a man's life. No, I mean the color it makes when I put it on the model. Okay. Removed a bit more paint this time, and lightly catch all these details here. And normally I go straight up and down, but because I want to catch all the greens of the hair here, and this is eventually going to be white hair, so I don't mind going a little extra bright here. Just kind of scrub-a-dub-dub, bring out the texture of that hair. And then we'll go back to just lighter strokes on the jacket. And there we go. Next layer of dry brushing done. Got some terrain, 15mm buildings. Oh, nice. I just saw Mini Warmet's video where he got some of their 15mm buildings too. Got some orcs, of course. A fellow WoW enthusiast. And something else I forgot. You know, that's always fun when you get so much loot, you forget what's coming. And then when the box gets to you, it's like your name day, come again. You know, it's like a little extra present in the mail. I have to say, like, I have a friend of mine, he's a commissioned painter and builder. His name's, he used to have a channel called The Nerd Life. And like I said, kind of as a side business, he does, you know, building and painting for other people. And so, anyways, his services are pretty popular. And so there's usually a little bit of a wait if you send something to him, because he's got other people he's building and painting for. So you kind of understand that when you book a project with him. But because, you know, I know I'm somewhere down in the queue, I just send him stuff that I don't need anytime soon, you know. Kind of makes sense to go that way. A little, you know, a little side project I don't need for a while. But because of the arrangement there, by the time it gets back to me, I've forgotten what I sent him. And so I'm just like, what did I order? What is he assembling for me? And so by the time that I get my own box back that I sent him, it's like unwrapping presents, because I don't remember what's coming back in the mail. All right, that is maybe looking just a little too bright. All right, we gave it a second. We gave it a half second to dry. course, that should be enough, right? We gave it just a little bit of time to dry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that same vampire thing and mix a little Xandru dust into it to make a little bit of a mid-tone. And we're just going to go kind of back around some of these edges. A little too dry. Hold on. Here we go. Kind of a mid-tone between the Xandru dust and the vampire thing. Which is probably what I should have started with to begin with. And bring that tone right down. There we go. That looks much better. That looked much better. My first attempt was too dark. My second attempt was too light. Now we've made a nice little creamy blend right down the middle. Thank you so much, Ashley. I hope you're doing well. Also, I assume Greg's with you, so good evening, Greg. Glad to see you both. Got a bunch of terrain stuff that needs finishing. Some paint, some assembly. Some maybe need bases and scenarios to create. Very nice. What is this model again? I really like the glow effect. That is my Wolfie version of the Apothecary by Logis. So just by putting him in my Silver Moon colors, putting a wolf pelt on him, and a space wolf head. Yeah, it kind of changes him around a little bit. And Al, formerly known as Freak, over on V-Twin Gaming, has been experimenting with some glow effects. And while he was in the chat last week, he was helping me, kind of walking me through and teaching me the OSL effect on this guy. And so I kind of incorporated it into this, because I was trying to think, it was just a big metal canister last week, and I'm like, I really want to do something with it for a pop of color. And he's like, well, what about an OSL effect? And he kind of walked me through it, and we ended up, it really, I think, is setting the model off. I'm really liking the way it comes out. Thank you, Kane. My brother Kane. Good to see you. Now that's another project I want to do. I want to do some work on your salamanders this year. Maybe get you another unit or two painted up for your birthday. And I say birthday because that gives me several months to work on it before it gets here. Okay, now I've already washed this once. You guys kind of saw it in its post-wash state when I first started the stream. So I don't want to wash the whole thing again, but I do want to reintroduce some varying tones here. So I'm going to come right up where some shadows may be cast at the fold of this piece of leather, and add in some more Agrax Earthshade. And yeah, we'll have some varying tonality here. And there's a little bit of an obvious line of demarcation there. So we'll wet our brush and just kind of feather it into the piece and blend that little line of demarcation out. Now, see, that's one of the things I have. They say you shouldn't play with your paint too much once you get it going, but that's one of the problems I have, is that I tend to keep doing too much. But with washes, you know, you can keep moving that wash around for a while. Now, part of the basing I'm doing for this miniature, okay, sure, an apothecary biologist sometimes, as a trained apothecary, may use some subtleties like, you know, this razor saw here or this chainsaw blade, you know, to take out any of the organs or pieces of Xenos that it needs to, you know, do the science on and experiment with. But as a Space Wolf apothecary, sometimes you just got to make your what's it called, amputations the old-fashioned way. And so on the base of this guy, I decided to add in a good old Space Wolf hand axe. Greg got his snipers primed, so he should be able to get to them soon. Nice. Is he coming to the War Dome? Yes. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he's in my list. Now you got me question. But I'm pretty sure he's coming to the War Dome. The War Dome is the War Dome is the overall convention where they'll be having the narrative event that Brother Atlas and I are going to later this month. And that's why over the next couple weeks, you guys will see me a push for me to get Lady Creed done and the sand-colored tanks for his Krieg army, the Dust Devils. 72nd Dust Devils, I believe. Gotta head to bed, have to work early in the morning. Rest well, Ashley. Have a great night, and don't work too hard in the morning. Yes, 72nd. I got it. To answer your question, I'm pretty sure he is the HQ that'll be joining my aggressors for my Space Wolves. We'll take a look at the list now. Using my GW app. This is artwork, right? Okay. Silver Moon Wolves. This is my 2,000 point list. I don't know why I'm looking it up on here, because we're taking Legends units to this narrative event. That's right. This event is allowing all of our Legends units, and so I am bringing several. Error loading my roster. Oh yeah, there has been a balance update since anyways, the 2K list. Chaplain, Iron Priest, Judiciary. Okay, so he's not on the 2,000 list, probably the 1,000 list. Apothecary Biologist, yes, and my Aggressor Squad. So he will be leading my 3-man Space Wolf Aggressor Squad. So, yep. Sometimes an apothecary needs a very clean, very precise cut. That's why he's got the razor saw in his backpack. Sometimes a Space Wolf apothecary, which, you know, we've never had apothecaries until this edition that I know of. I came in 7th, so we may have had some before then, but since I started in 7th, Wolves never had apothecaries, so, you know, sometimes we just need to go back to our roots and make our incisions or amputations the old-fashioned way. Hence, we're gonna have a battle, or we're gonna have a hand axe on the base. Have a great night, Charles. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope that you find your hobby motivation soon. Because not that you know there should ever be any stress to painting or hobbying or assembling. It's all a hobby. It shouldn't stress you out. But I honestly do feel like having a creative hobby is just so good for my mental health and well-being. Even though there are some times, like on Friday, where I was like frustrated and needed to take a break. Alright, so what I've done here is got me a little piece of green stuff, and when it was still wet, I made an indentation of sticking this axe here. And then let it harden that way. And so now when I go back and I put in, you know, the rock effect from the Astro Granite, and then the snow effect on top of that, you know, there'll be a little mound of snow and rock that I have kind of built up around this green stuff blob here. And yeah, and that'll just hold it in. Of course, I'll glue it in by that point. But yeah, that'll be on the base as you know, this Space Wolf's emergency amputation device. Just bought Warhammer starter set. Will normal hobby snippers be okay to use? Well, depends on what hobby snippers you have, but as long as they are flush cut, you should be good to go. I mean, honestly, so I used to work at a plastics factory, and I had this old beat up pair from work, where it was just you know, we called them gate cutters, but it's the same thing. Cut plastics, it should be fine. Now, one thing I would like to warn if you're new to the hobby is, especially if you don't know how flush your snippers are. Hey, sweet boy, I can't pick you up right now. That's my cat Jingle trying to come over the show. Especially if you don't know how flush your snippers will be. A lot of us have the natural instinct to just go straight down. Let me just take this out. So a lot of us, here's an example. So we've got this combat knife here on here, and most of us will just have the natural inclination to try and get the snippers as flat as we can to the piece and just go ahead and snip right there. And actually, unless you've been using a really good set of snips for a while, you know exactly what they do, you're very confident how they snip. Unless you're at that point, I think most hobbies are just better off snipping a little bit above that. You see how I've got a little gap between the piece and my blades there, and just going. Look at this guy. This guy just really wants to be on camera, doesn't he? Jingle, you know you're not supposed to be up here. I'm trying to do a show. Sorry about that, guys. Ugh. Jingle taking over the show. All right, sweet boy, you gotta get down. I appreciate you coming up to visit, but you can't be up here right now. I like the Zircon brand clippers, offset clippers that make cutting a dream. Very nice. He is a bit of a cutie. Anyway, so you can see here that what I've done is I've created a little knob or nubbin. There we go. You can see on top of that knife there's a little nub right there. And then most of us hobbyists will just go in with a little knife. What is the best way to get that on camera? There we go. Yeah, my hand's going to be in the way no matter what, I think. But yeah, we just take our hobby knife and just kind of pull away with, you know, much more control and get that as flat as we want. And you can see there, super smooth now. The nub is gone. A little clean up there, boop. But yeah, it's exactly where I wanted it. Sometimes if you go in too close with the clippers, you'll end up cutting a gouge out of the plastic. So no matter which clippers you're using, you know, until you get the feel of your clippers, I always recommend cutting just a little bit above and leaving yourself a little nubbin and then using your knife to scrape away the nubbin. Space Wolves Apothecary pulls out the axe. You might feel a small pinch. Exactly. Great advice. Thank you, TMP. By the way, big congrats. Hold on, I need oh yeah. I'm gonna blank out the camera for a second because I want to be able to say this face to face. Boop. I am terrible. I'm a terrible cameraman. But big shout out and congrats to my brother Rob, the TMP. I just found out yesterday that the man is engaged. He mentioned on his latest painting tutorial that his lovely lady was out shopping for wedding dresses. And so, yeah, that's how I realized that the man was engaged. So big shout out and congratulations, TMP. Big loves, my brother. And yeah, I wish you the best on your amazing day. Boop. By the way, that we have been talking about Space Wolves, and of course, mine are not real Space Wolves. That's my own custom color. It's my own custom color theme here. I call them my Silver Moon Wolves. But if you want to see how to paint, you know, your traditional Space Wolves, Brother Rob over at the TMP, his last tutorial was on painting up Space Wolf Reavers in their traditional colors, and the recipe that has been working amazingly for him lately. So check him out. By the way, the Miniatures Paintbrush, you can either follow him there in the chat or down in the description below. We have a Friends of the Frosted Fist link tree. Of course, you can find all of our friends, well, many of our friends there. Yeah, and Brother Rob from the TMP, the Miniatures Paintbrush, is there as well. You are welcome, my brother. Sorry for the shaky cameraman work, guys. But yeah, I just wanted to go, you know, facing the camera for that. All right. Got the Apothecary sitting here. Coming back where we're building up our undercoat here. And we've just done two different grays. One was a dark pewter gray. One was a very light gray. I can't even tell you the name of that one because, as I showed you guys, my label has been all worn out. or sprayed over rather, because I was using it as that bottle as a painting handle. And now I've just got some white, and this one I'm going to get the majority of the paint off. Rub, 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 rub. Even going to brush it along my skin. And again, we want the brightest point to be the hair, because she will eventually have white hair. And I'm just applying some very, very light pressure, trying to catch just the top folds of that greatcoat, her mask there, of course her hairline. Pouch's hair have a lot of great texture, but I'm applying just very, very light pressure because I don't want to blow away all that grayscale that we managed to catch with our previous layers. And so just, you can see right there, just that very, very light amount of pressure with the white really brings out the folds of the cloth. And there we go. Now you can see all of her great detail. All right, so we've got her. We've got this. What are we at? We are at 9:42. Okay, it is in the thumbnail, so I guess we should talk a little bit about one of the topics of the week. And this week's topic is having your miniatures removed from the game. Of course, that is, for a lot of people, a very feels bad kind of moment. So we'll talk about it a little bit. Boom. Okay, and then we'll specify the Chrome page we want to see. There we go. So here we go. What's leaving the Warhammer Age of Sigmar range? And now many people come here for 40k. And I've played a couple of games of Age of Sigmar, but I admittedly have much, much more experience with 40k. I've honestly only played I've only played 2 learner games of Age of Sigmar, and they were nowhere near each other. They were like years apart, so it was like I had to start over learning both times. But anyways, but this is something that has massively happened in the Age of Sigmar range, but tends to happen for the 40k range every so often. So I think it does affect us. I think it does matter, and it's definitely worth talking about. So in this case, with the latest edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar on the horizon, and the news that every single war scroll in the game has been assessed and balanced, it is a sad but necessary truth that certain miniatures are leaving the range. Every Citadel miniature is a unique piece in the ever-evolving narrative of Warhammer. Unfortunately, we just can't continue to sell and support every model that we've made indefinitely. I think that is almost disingenuous. And the reason I say that is they say that they can't continue supporting all the new stuff with all of the old stuff, but some of these are getting re-released with brand new models, even though their models, some of the models that they're replacing have only been out for 5 or 6 years. And I'm going to take, I'll come back to where we are here, but I want to take just the old school, the Liberators, the very first battle line unit. These Liberators here were the first. They're still only, I think they said 6 years old, and they're getting brand new sculpts. Okay, there are plenty of, and again, I know we're not talking about 40k right now, but I'm just using this as a measuring stick. There are 40k models that are, in the words of Uncle Adam from Tabletop Minions, old enough to drink. Okay, here in the U.S., they've officially had their sculpts alive long enough to turn 21 and buy their first beer. Okay, and some of them are in dire need of replacements. For instance, a lot of the Eldar models from their range, those desperately need updates. There are so many things that need updates. These models have been around 6 years and they're getting brand new sculpts. That already feels kind of weird. But then to go on top of that and say, well, we can't keep keep supporting old stuff while we're making new stuff. Well, it's not all new stuff. If it's also reinventing the old stuff that really hasn't been alive long enough to justify resculpting, in my opinion. Not that I'm trying to be a negative Nancy. I just think this statement here is a little disingenuous when you're also updating stuff that's been out for less than 10 years. So it feels a little weird. You guys let me know what your opinion is in the comment sections or in the chat there. But yeah, it just feels a little weird for them to say that, oh, well, there's just so much new stuff coming out. But some of that stuff does include resculpting the old stuff. Anyways, it feels weird. But just like many of you, we still treasure our collections and the older miniatures, and we still want to be able to use them in games and forge glorious tales of heroism and adventure on the tabletop. It's just a shame here because I love these models, and I've never had a chance to use mine in game yet. I have them. They're gorgeously painted up by the wonderful and amazing Elster Nation. But yeah, it's a shame. I mean, now, not that it's a big deal to me because I don't mind playing Legends, whether it's 40k or Age of Sigmar. So I'm not complaining because I have personal stake in this. It would be easy for me to say that I'm directly affected by this, and this is why I'm very upset. I'm going to burn my armies. Y'all don't do that. That's a waste of good models. You know what I mean. It would be easy for me to be upset. But this is honestly no skin in my game because I'm happy to play Legends games. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to a narrative event where we're allowed to take all of our Legends stuff. And so I will be taking things like, Leviathan, Dreadnought, and stuff like that. It's BS. The Liberators were not broken. Why did they have to fix it? In the case of the Liberators, they will still have stats. They're one of the ones getting new sculpts. We'll take a little bit of that. But one reason is popularity. A lot of people don't like the chunkier Space Marine style armor. And I'm going to cut to... Now I'm skipping around articles, but I mentioned they're resculpting it. They're taking the new sleeker armor of the Thunderstrike model armor and giving it to the Liberators. And so a lot of people like the sleeker design of the Thunderstrike models. And they're giving that same kind of redesign to the Liberators. So you'll still be able to take the Liberators you have and run them as Liberators. They're just updating the sculpts in the case of the Liberators. So you'll be all good there. All the Forge World resin needs to be updated, and all of the Finecast models need to be updated, not replacing the new stuff. Cash grab. Exactly. So Liberators are at least, the Liberators are at least, I think, safe. You'll still be able to use them, old and new. This is the newest Thunderstrike style of the Age of Sigmar armor. This one you can see was clearly inspired by the Space Marines, and this is where they've come out with the new sculpt for the Liberators, kind of an in-between. If you reimagine their war gear on this chassis here, this model, you get this. I never was impressed. It was always weird to me that these spears did better damage than these hammers in combat, because coming from 40k, like, hammers are supposed to be like the best heavy weapons, in game. And so I've been tempted to take the hammer arms off to most of my Liberators and stick a spear on them and just run them as these spear guys. But we'll see what the new stats look like in the new AOS. Because I literally took like a max size brick of Liberators in the second game I played, and they did no damage whatsoever. Anyways, but that's neither here nor there. But if I didn't play Legends, my feelings would be pretty hurt here because this is pretty much my whole army. I have some of the newer stuff. I got the Thunderstrike half of the Stormcast Eternals versus the new the swamp style orcs. I'm sounding so knowledgeable here. But yeah, the newer style orcs versus the Stormcast. I got there in the, I think, 3.0 box set release. And so I got some of the new stuff, but most of my army is this more classic style stuff. And you've got 1,500 points in them. I totally understand. The entire Sacrosanct Chamber is completely gone. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big deal. But there's always Legends. So, you know, if you're not playing a competition, it should be okay, right? If you can find someone that agrees to play Legends with you. One of my armies was deleted. I still have 2 Battle Force boxes and a starter box unpainted that's being cut. Ugh. Yeah, and that's why I think more casual people like you and myself better off playing Legends, my friend. Better off playing Legends. But yeah, like, oh man, I've got some of these, I got some of these. You know, got one of these, got one of these. I always thought this was such a cool model too. And again, I've got one of these. I want to get some of these and make some Space Wolf eliminators out of them. And instead of sniper rifles, they've got these longbows. I think that'd be cool. My soon-to-be wife will play with me. Wait, that came out wrong. You mean, of course, in 40K and Age of Sigmar, of course. Yeah, of course. We knew what you meant. Now, the Skaven line, I think almost the whole Skaven line is also being cut, but most of them are being cut because they're being resculpted. And you can take a look at these. These are definitely some models that need some love. So, you know, like, whereas I'm a little mad about some of these getting resculpted, and they're less, you know, they're barely over 5 years old. They're, you know, 6 years old at this point. I'm not saying I'm mad, but it just seems, it feels bad that they're being resculpted and made kind of irrelevant already. These Skaven models, though, that are, you know, 20 plus years old, need some love for sure. I'm okay with them being redone for sure. I have 2,000 points of Clan Rats, so sad. You know, but kind of the same thing here, though, because they are getting new sculpts and they're being reimagined. I'm pretty sure you'll be able to use your Clan Rats and whatnot, you know, just with the new stats. You may not have the new models, but you'll have, you know, you'll still have the stats with them. I think you'll be okay with those. I do like the longbows. Kind of feels the only difference between the two. Exactly. Yeah, I think getting some Judicators and maybe putting some cloaks on them the way the Eliminators feel, I think they'd be a great sniper squad. I've looked for these models before to try and make that conversion because I thought it was a good idea. But because most of the time this box set is sold out, a lot of the times I see these box sets on like eBay being sold for higher than their original price. My Get Mob Grots got canceled in AOS First Edition. The writing was put to the wall for me. Oh, that definitely feels bad. Will you be playing them in the new released Old World? Do they exist in the Old World? I don't know. How are you, Heresy Productions? Another one that feels bad is additionally a number of older Warcry and Warhammer Underworlds warbands for the Slaves to Darkness will go off sale and enter Legends. Many more Underworlds warbands will remain on sale and be supported only by Digital Legends War Scrolls in the next edition. That's sad because, man, these, when they first came out, which again still doesn't feel that long ago, and maybe that's just me, but I mean, these were like cutting edge models when they first came. The Warcry stuff all seemed very cutting edge, especially the Corvus Cabal is one of the ones. They were one of the first Warcry armies to come out, and their poses, their sculpts just seemed phenomenal at the time. These guys, even though they're like creepy style, is not necessarily my thing. There's no doubt that they're very dynamic and cool looking models. They're awesome sculpts. I'm going to use mine in D&D. Hey, that's a really great idea. And then hearing the same thing about how they're going to move a bunch of, like, I like a lot of the older war bands from oh my gosh, my brain just went numb. Not Warcry, but the Underworlds. I like a lot of the older warbands from Underworlds. And so now I've got to try and find those before they disappear forever, now that they're not being made anymore. Thankfully, there are only like 3 models a piece for those older, or for the Underworlds warbands, but still, I mean, yeah, there's some pretty cool sculpts that, just are going to stop existing soon. That's a bloody shame. Here we've got the Slaves to Darkness. The Unmade. That's what they were called. The Unmade. The Corvus Cabal. I can't believe they're going away. They just look so cool with their whole like Raven aesthetic. Scions of the Flame. The Iron Golems are another one that they're very like classic, like, I don't know, like a Gladiator meets, Dark Souls kind of aesthetic. It's so cool. Spire Tyrants, Untamed Beasts. It's so many cool sets here. The Cypher Lords from Underworlds. It's hard to believe that they're all going to Legends and out of production. It just seems like a waste of so many. Like, I don't play Underworlds very much, and I don't play Warcry. But it just seems like, but I've always wanted to paint up some of these, like the Iron Golems, Corvus Cabal, Cypher Lords. It just seems like such a waste of cool sculpts. Beastmen are going away too. Yes, Beastmen are going away army-wide. That is a whole army being cut. It's the Beastmen. It just seems so wrong. I ended up using them. I love the Corvus Cabal. Me too. Me too. They're such dynamic and cool models. I play old editions of Underworlds. I still need to paint up my my daughter's Arcane Underworlds models. Maybe we should have an old school Underworlds game someday. You can get them for cheap now too. Nice. That also came out. Oh, I ended up using them for Warhammer Fantasy Base 6th edition and now Old World, so I got over it. Nice. Oh man, so these I'm not as familiar with. Although I gotta say, the Ogre's going away. Man, I remember Brother D from Gamecraft Dragon said that he's losing out a couple of armies, and I'm pretty sure he has an Ogre's army for AOS. Hope you're doing well. I am doing pretty well. I was just telling the chat earlier. I just got off the plane last night around midnight. 3 weeks on the road now for work, and I'm kind of tired, but I think this is a great way, sitting here and chatting with you guys, and being able to talk about this Warhammer stuff that I love so much is a great way for me to kind of ease into my weekend and kind of woo-saw, de-stress some of the the work week away. Handful of other miniatures also going off sale and receiving Legend Scrolls. Branch Wraiths, Saurus, Eternity Warden. Oh, so like a one model there for the Lizardman. Dalkia the Bloody, that looks like a cool mini. The Madcap Shaman. That sounds pretty cool. So yeah, lots of cool stuff here, and it really surprises me how much of this stuff is only 5 or 6 years old that's going away. We appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. Some of those sculptures are only 3 years old. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. Yeah, I like hearing that 5 or 6-year-old sculpts were being just done away with is one thing, but 3-year-old sculpts, that is absolutely insane. And that's kind of, I don't know, really, a lot of people say that Games Workshop is built up on the business practice of FOMO, right? The fear of missing out. And having something that you've got a 3-year window of buying before it goes away forever, to me, really feels like it's pushing that FOMO narrative, We mentioned, again, just a sneak peek here, some of them getting redesigns. What do you guys think of the update to the Liberators? Do you guys prefer it in the chunkier Space Marine style armor, or do you like it in the new Thunderstrike style armor? I'm curious to see what people think. I like the new skinnier Thunderstrike armor. However, I guess because it's iconic, it was the look when Stormcast came out, and because I like Space Marines, I have 4 Space Marine armies in 40k. I actually like the chunkier look of the old school Stormcast, maybe a little bit better, but I'm a big fan of both these style sculpts. Valkyria is epic. Her shield is the face of the demon that she slayed. Oh wow, that's amazing. Choose your side, Stormcast or Skaven. Okay, a couple other things that are coming out though. Let's look on to, okay, so we're losing a lot of stuff in Warhammer, but let's take a look at the stuff that we're not losing, some of the good stuff that's coming up. And we've got the new Kill Team box coming out, and I gotta say, of course, a lot of people are upset that this Kill Team isn't just like chock full of terrain like the previous Kill Teams were, but I gotta say the miniatures from this one, and this is coming from a guy who doesn't play either of these armies, the miniatures for this one look amazing. First of all, the mandrakes here, like, they have such a cool look. It's almost like, to me, like if you took the concept of, like very dark, like dark, chaotic, evil samurai and Drow from Dungeons and Dragons, you'd get this kind of look, right? Because like the rope and these, these long flowing, kind of robes here at the bottom kind of reminds me of like, the kind of battle dress you'd see on samurai. And then some of like, even the guy's poses here with some of these big blades, if you took off the little sickle hook at the end, they'd be almost kind of like in the way they'd hold like a long katana, And so it kind of gives me like a Dark Souls-y kind of dark samurai, but also mixed with like Drow from, or some people say Drow from Dungeons and Dragons. So I dig them. I think they're a very cool look. I have my brother Kalo's Dark Eldar army. And yeah, like I wouldn't mind expanding his army with some mandrakes here. I think those would be pretty cool to add to the list. I'm actually tempted to not only get them, but to snip off the little sickle ends and kind of like shave it a little more, traditional sword kind of blade at the end. Good evening, Oversoul Gaming, one of my favorite Let's Play channels of all time. Good to see you, my brother. Lurking and doing dishes. Want to let you know that I'm washing. Well, enjoy your dishwashing, sir. Dro, hail the Spider Queen. Oh man, so I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3 right now. I'm just now getting into it, and there's this section where you come across a worshiper of Lolth, the Spider Queen, and she's transformed herself into this massive spider, kind of colored the way that Spider-Man 2099 looks. Yeah, she's kind of like really brightly colored like Spider-Man 2099. And she's a giant, got phase spider powers, and like her bodyguard spiders are all phase spiders that can just teleport at will. And at one point, I don't know if she glitched out or bugged out or what, but at one point, she like summons these spider hatchlings, and then for her teleport move, it usually only goes like X amount of spaces away, right? she did her teleport move and teleported off of the map and out of combat and just disappeared forever. And so I just was able to kill off all her little spiderlings, and I searched the entire base and she just was gone. Like gone. She literally just teleported and noped the F out of there. It was pretty hilarious. TMP, me too, Baldur's Gate 3 for life. You know, it's funny because this is my first Baldur's Gate game, so now I've got the urge to go back and play the previous two. Hello, Cookie. Okay, so first Jingle got tried climbing up during the show, and I wouldn't let him, and so now his twin brother is here. Interesting fact, I have Spider-Man 2099 #1 in mint condition. Oh my god. What a collector's item to have. That is so cool, my brother. I have to say I'm jealous. That is amazing, my brother. We looked at the Dark Elves in the Kill Team box. And we're also going to take a look at the Night Lords. I need to play Baldur's Gate 3. It's basically D&D. Exactly. And the D&D nerd in me is loving it. I did finish, by the way, Oversoul Gaming. I did finish Final Fantasy 16. I was pissed at the end of the game. My feelings were hurt. There was a balm because, you know, some of it's open to interpretation. And if you want to choose your own adventure and say that you got a good ending, you can kind of do that because it's so ambiguous. But yeah, the end of that game hurt my feelings. And now I understand why Baldur's Gate 3 beat it out in Game of the Year, because my feelings are hurt. Yoshi, I have beef with Yoshi P right now. Yes, you know, because I'm a big fan of Final Fantasy 14 as well, and I've played all the expansions so far. Yeah, Yoshi P is no stranger to hurting my feelings. I mean, obviously it says a lot about a game when they get you so attached to the characters that when something bad happens, it hurts you for real. You weren't angry, but you were sad. See, that's the thing, though. When I get sad, I get angry. So first I was sad, and then I was mad. So yeah, now I'm understanding why Baldur's Gate 3 beat it out for Game of the Year. I haven't played it to the ending, but I'm loving the game so far. And it so far has been a good balm on my hurt feelings from 16. I still haven't looked into the DLC yet. Alright, coming back to the Night Lords. Players, poisoners, and prophetic powers getting under the skin of the Nemesis Claw kill team. The oceanic platforms of Beta Decima are haunted by monstrous mandrakes and kill team nightmare, and it'll make a truly terrifying team of equally awful operatives to stand up to their shadowy brutality. One thing is certain, they'll get more than they bargained for with the Nemesis Claw kill team, whose expertise in slinking through the darkness and flaying their enemies alive rivals the most despicable killers of the Drukhari. This awesome kit is based on the excellent Chaos Space Marine Legionaries you remember in the previous Kill Team box, adding 2 full sprues of upgrades to turn them from generic Raiders and Reavers into the specialized killers of the Night Lords Legion. To match their brutal reputations as the ultimate terror troops, these sprues include all manner of flayed hides, barbed chains, and skeletal details to put the fear of the God Emperor into your hapless opponents. You can also use the kit to build fully Night Lord themed units of Legionaries for games of 40k with 12 shoulder pads and 11 heads, featuring the distinct Batwing styles of the 8th Legion amongst all of the other morbid accessories. So I've always loved the look of the chain glaives. I've actually bought some of the Forge World characters before just to steal their chain glaives and put them on my white scars, saying that they were not chain glaives, but chain naganatas for my space agents. I love the look of this missile launcher here with the spikes. That looks so cool. Their brutal skills are further augmented by unique equipment dredged from the darkest corners of the armories, such as the paralyzing sonic blasts of the Screechers, Vox Noctis, and the virulent terror chem toxins applied to the Fearmonger's blades. One scratch from these wicked razors will spell doom for even the toughest of operatives. And as their wounds continue to drain long after the Fearmonger has left the field, made doubly deadly by hidden explosives that spread the toxin to booby-trapped objectives. These are some cool models. I love the look of these, like, very, like, serrated double claws here. Those are super cool. Poison knife looks cool. The sword here with, like, a full rib cage here as part of it. The plasma gun and the cape. All very cool. You know, I've always thought the Night Lords were a little too, I don't know, gory for my taste, but like some of their kits I think are very cool, like the chain glaives, the claws. Obviously that spiked missile launcher looks so cool. So, cool stuff. Post-credit scene implies a lot of interesting things. I thought that was cool. I thought it was cool too. And so while I was initially very upset the night of, you know, like by the time I woke up the next morning and I had time to process it, even though it's not clearly spelled out, it's like I said, it's kind of like a Final Fantasy 16's ending. It's kind of like a choose your own adventure. You can say, okay, because there was kind of like this clue and this clue here, I'm choosing to infer that, you know, good things happen at the end of the game. Or you could just take it for face value and you could just be like, F it, we're in the bad timeline. I'm sorry, but it sucks. We're in the bad timeline. So initially I was very hurt, and I'm still like not super thrilled, but I'm taking the choose my own adventure route and taking those couple of clues and saying, okay, maybe there was a good ending. Maybe. Mildly ambiguous ending for sure. Yeah. And unfortunately, Yoshi P said that's what he wants. He doesn't want you to know what happened, but you can infer whatever you want. Which, you know how I feel about that infer whatever you want kind of ending. Anyways, I'm not mad. I got a little beef with Yoshi P, but I'm not mad. All right, and then the last little bit of news we have here. We have the last little bit of news. We have Little Horus. And if you guys are into you know, Sons of Horus, I think this is very cool. Honestly, I think even if you weren't, like, you wanted to go a little more Roman, you know, Ultramarines, and you know, replace the shoulder pad here, shaved away this little Eye of Horus here. I think this kind of like lean into the shield wall kind of look here, if you're willing to shave away some details, I think it'd be kind of a cool, like, you know, Ultramarine kind of Spartan look. Or even you could go a little Greek, make it a Minotaur's kind of look. Although because there is so much Sons of Horus iconography, you can be scraping and chipping and cutting for days. Yes, I thought Inception was a genius movie, particularly because of the ending, so I can't relate there. Yeah, I understand that. Some people like the ambiguous ending. But you know, everybody's got their own thing that they like. It's all good. It's all good. So yeah, new Little Horus model. Of course, you get the version of Little Horus's face here, which is interesting because I saw, you know, at first he kind of like, you know, tried to keep his face pristine like the Primarch. You know, he took a lot of pride in the fact that his genes from the, you know, their genetic father was so superior that he had the exact face of, you know, the Primarch. But then I guess after a couple of failures, he didn't like being compared to the Primarch anymore, and so in a battle with Hibu Khan, was it Hibu Khan? I want to say, yeah, Hibu Khan. and his face got all scarred up, but he enjoyed the scars because his face no longer looked like the exact duplicate of their Primarch, and he started relishing in these scars he would acquire in battle. I thought that was kind of a neat. I do like this Chthonius style helmet though. That looks really cool. And like I said, the pose, leaning into a shield wall kind of thing, it just looks really cool. Really cool miniature. Guys, let me know if you guys dig the new Sons of Horus miniatures. I think it's pretty pimp. Love the colors. Yeah, they do a gorgeous job with the Sons of Horus colors. Rules. I don't play 30k, but I always enjoy looking at the rules he gets. Little Horus. The first time in any battle that Horus Axeman is reduced to 0 wounds, he's not removed and instead gets to remains in play and regains D3 wounds. So it's very similar to Yillin's 40k ability. This has no effect against attacks or rules which remove the model as a result without inflicting wounds, or against attacks with the instant death special rule. So he can't stand up from instant death. That's interesting. In addition, an army whose warlord has this trait may make an additional reaction during the shooting phase, as long as their warlord has not been removed as a casualty. Meanwhile, his haunted special rule adds a little spice to any climactic confrontation with Gabriel Loken. If Loken is removed as a casualty while locked in combat with Little Horus or any unit he has joined, then Horus Axeman's controlling player gets +1 victory points in addition to any other he might have gained from this. Bonus is increased to 2+ if Loken was removed as a casualty while engaged in a challenge with Little Horus. That's cool. That's cool. Was getting ready for work and heard the end of 16 combo. Yeah, I was not happy with Yoshi P that day. Exactly. So now we both got beef with Yoshi P. Yeah. I feel like it felt like a Brochafont moment. So all I'm gonna say, it felt like I was mad just like the Brochafont day. When did this come out? Oh, November 22nd. Okay. And that is all of our articles there, guys. So back to Inception for just a second. And then we're going to go to back here. And yeah, I think we made a good start on this, guys. We're going to do just a little bit more. And as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a short stream tonight. Just going to do 2 hours instead of 3 hours because I've been on the road again. You down with Yoshi P? Yeah, you know me. Oh, goodness. We're down with Yoshi P. Yeah, you know me. All right. Next thing we're going to do is for Lady Creed here. We are going to do her trousers, and my brother Atlas has given me the recipe for his officers. Currently is a tan color for the officer's trousers, which he highlights up to the sandy colored Xandri dust. And then we're going to go with a blue for the greatcoat. I've picked up, so because I didn't want to just go straight to Xandri dust, I wanted to highlight up to, it's supposed to read as Xandri dust, right? And so I didn't want to just start off with that color. So as the shade color, we're going to start off with dark golden brown from Pro Acryl. And we're going to highlight up from there. can't lie, I saw the ending coming. Like the writing was on the wall, but I was also kind of hoping for kind of a rug pull. Yeah. Still made my top 3 of last year, though. Solid game. I think open-ended gaming endings can be smart or lazy, depends on how they're executed. I like closure, but I also like interpreting stories. Yeah, I get that. Personally, I just want the closure. But I get that. Alright, now we're just going to take this... What is it? Dark golden brown. And apply it to her trousers. But as much as like I said, I feel like I've been complaining a lot about 16. I loved the game. I think that's why I'm mad, because I love the game. It did go from being one of my favorite games of all time to one of my favorite Final Fantasies of all time, back down the list. 7 and Final Fantasy Tactics have firmly reclaimed that place. But it's still pretty high up there. Especially once I got over my feelings and decided to, opt in favor of a good ending, a la my choose your own adventure kind of style. It's really not a lot of her trousers showing. I feel the need to specify trousers because, I found out a few years ago that our UK friends, tend to think of pants as underpants. And so, try and be more cognizant when I'm on stream now to say trousers. And the way that happened is I was sending out a box of goodies that our friend Nick from Edict Beer won. And I was like, oh man, I was going to send out your victory, your prize box today. But I got all the way to the post office, filled out all the international travel paperwork, and then realized that I'd left my wallet in my other pants. And he had a good chuckle over that and explained to me that, in the UK, pants, meant what we think of as underpants or underwear. Underpants, thank you, please. The best stories make for some of the most involved discussions, even when coming from the different perspectives. Or from different perspectives, it's the different interpretations that I find intriguing. That's fair. That's fair, my man. Now, my brother Atlas will be bringing me the exact shade of blue that he wants these greatcoats to be tomorrow. However, I am going to go ahead and base coat this greatcoat in the darkest layer, which will be this ultramarines blue. And then, when he brings me the other color tomorrow, just highlight up from there. We're going to thin this out with not only ultramarines, thin out this ultramarines blue with a little contrast medium, because we want to settle in the recesses. So boop. I think you'd make a great podcast guest or host. Well, thank you very much, my brother. I'm definitely looking forward to joining you and your co-host Nick on your channel sometime for a podcast. If the offer is still open. Yeah, I think it'd be fun to dip my toe in the podcast waters. Especially since not only have I been listening, I've told you before, I think I've mentioned in the chat before, I'm a big fan of Markiplier, and thus I'm a big fan of his podcast, Distractable. But also, I've recently started listening to another one of my favorite channels, Viva La Dirt League. They started a podcast. The name of their podcast is We Were Told We Should do a Podcast. And so, anyways, I've been checking that out, and yeah, that's been a pretty fun one too. And I think a lot like YouTube videos in general, especially something like this, talking head podcasts, or Let's Plays are another great example. You kind of get used to not necessarily tuning in for a specific topic, right? You're not YouTube searching them, but people you're subscribed to, you start tuning in because of the personalities involved too, right? And so that's how I feel about the Distractable and Viva La Dirt League podcast, is that these guys, especially, they're all comedians in these cases, and so they've got pretty funny personalities that I enjoy, and just listening to them talk about different things. In some cases, especially Markiplier and Company's case, in some cases just yak on about absolute nonsense and Beth, just because I enjoy listening to their personalities. And so it's been kind of fun. So anyways, being that I've been into listening to those podcasts lately, and of course I enjoy listening to yourself and Nick, I would think it'd be fun. I think I'd really like to take you up on that offer of joining in for an episode at some point. One of the interesting things is two of the cast of Viva La Dirt League, two of the members of Viva La Dirt League, they live in New Zealand. They were cast as extras in James Cameron's Avatar, because before they started a YouTube channel, they were both fresh out of acting school, and they got to play part as extras in a big budget film. And so they got some good stories out of that, and of course, something that they were talking about, I think, happens probably with a lot of fresh faces just out of that kind of environment, like, trying to take every opportunity as, this could be my big break. And even though, everybody's trying to do that, everybody's having to be told to tone it down, because, if you look at it on one side, yeah, every opportunity is a potential big break. But from the other side, when you're an extra, your job is to literally be part of the background, not draw attention to yourself. You know what I mean? So it's cool to kind of see both parts and having them talk about it. You could stop now and it would look better than what I could do. Oh, thank you so much. Sounds like the problem we had in the military with kolaches. Man, I've been running my mouth for a while now, and I've lost what that was in reference to. What was the problem you had with kolaches? Oh, wait, hold on. I do remember you saying that in the military, because kolaches means something else outside of Texas, you were expecting basically a sausage in a roll, sausage in a roll, and when somebody went to brought you kolaches, but you had the non-Texas definition of kolaches brought to you, which I think was fruit and pastry. And so, yeah, it was just a disappointing miscommunication. Oh, the expectation of what the expectation of young actors versus, their parts as extra. Mine is just an excuse to dump reviews and media recommendations, but I'm also trying to bring back media literacy and non-toxic esoteric discussions. It's true. You've been doing a great job of that too. I love that, we've been able to have like a really non-toxic discourse about the things we like or don't like without, being able to step on each other's toes, because, it's good to be able to have those conversations and express what it is you like or don't like without just defaulting to insults. Too many people are bad at these days having these type of conversations, and I'm trying to help fix that. I like hearing people disagree civilly and without conflict. Sadly, so rare on the internet. I think part of that is just, the anonymity of the internet, Whereas, it's that feeling of anonymity, just makes it easy for people to not only express their opinion, but make it the absolute truth and, spit in your face for believing differently. There's a psychological phenomenon that we learned about when I was studying behavioral science, where more and more often these days people have a hard time hearing other people's opinions, not because they actually, and they get very aggressive about the other person's opinions, but it has very little to do with how they feel about that person's opinion at all, and more to do with, holy crap, man, even though I just had some contrast medium on my palette here, this tooth and coat stuff is pigmented. There we go, though, leaving a little bit of that dark golden color in the recesses, getting out that sandy color that my brother's not Catachan, my brother's Krieg army is. And I even did a test with that, with the Xanderdust. I took out one of his tanks here. Now this is the underside of one of his turret sponsons. But yeah, I was trying to color match because he was using some Tester's enamel paint before. And, I was trying to color match with acrylic. And so I took basically the bottom of this and brushed on a couple of similar colors. And it's a shade lighter. Maybe a half shade lighter. But yeah, this was the closest, brushing it onto like the bottom of the sponson cover here. And the Xanderdust came closest. So thought that was pretty neat. So now I have an acrylic match for his Tester's enamel paint, and so now I can get the same effect but in acrylic. That looks yeah, chronically online keyboard warriors, that's what the kids say, why the kids say touch grass. Exactly. So great, brother. Sorry to top off a bit early. I need to start packing up, getting some sleep. You have a great night, sir. You have a great night. You legends have a great night as well. Looks like the tank boss battles. I got stuck on the Persona 3. Oh no. Okay, now I'm just going to take some of this. And I'm just taking some of this mid-tone here. That was the golden color and the Xandri dust color. Dab, dab. Just going to get this right in the recesses where the Xandri dust meets that kind of chocolatey color. And there we go, all three. Our shade color, our highlight, and then a little bit of the 50-50 mix in between. Oh, I'm doing that off camera. Oh my goodness, I didn't realize I smacked the camera sideways. I'm sorry guys, so pro here. But yeah, I just took a little bit of that 50-50 Xandri dust and golden dark golden brown 50-50, and just kind of took a thin layer between where the Xandri dust meets that dark golden layer. Smooths out nicely. I know there's a little bit of over color here, but when I come back and do the black for the boots, that'll cover over just nicely. It's 10:30. I said I was going to do a 2-hour show, so I would be hopping off. But before I do that, we are going to come in with the skin tone. And I was saying earlier is, yeah, people have sometimes have their the reason why they disagree with you so vehemently sometimes has less to do with the fact that they don't like your point, but because the mere thought of you being right insinuates that they were wrong, and they can't handle being wrong. And that seems to be a thing that they are finding is happening more and more often these days, is that people can't handle the idea of being wrong, and that's why they argue sometimes so viciously or violently about you being wrong, because they can't be wrong. And the option never really occurs to these people sometimes that both people can be right? It's if you're right, they're wrong. And in some cases, some people actually take it to an extreme where it's not just that they're wrong, okay? Being wrong, in some cases to them, means that to them they think they're stupid. You know, you're saying that they're stupid, you know, or, you know, that, that they're not just wrong about this one thing, that they're wrong about everything. Anyways, they take it to a whole other degree that had no place in this conversation. But that's just like the extreme that we take things. You know, some people just take being wrong very poorly. It means that they're stupid and they're a terrible human being, and you know, you can't take them seriously, and that you're smarter than them. It's just a whole deal, a whole kit and caboodle. And unfortunately, this type of escalation just from being wrong in an argument is happening more and more prevalently these days. And that's also why we sometimes see, like, a lot of times it's keyboard warrior stuff, but sometimes even in real life and even in the workplace, which is why we've had to like learn some of these things in behavioral science. I'm so sorry, I did all this off camera, but here I just mixed together 50-50 of I had some Keyslift Flesh and some Bugman's Glow on hand, because I couldn't find my Cadian Flesh Tone. So I'm just kind of doing a 50-50 here. Just putting in some highlights on the upper brow here. And because I can't really see the nose or the mouth, the upper brow is really the only place I got to highlight. So I just mixed up a little 50-50 right there on my thumbnail, since he's really just the center of the face right there. Ta-da! Yeah, absolutely. Some people are toxic. I thought you were going to talk about the Dunning-Kruger effect for a second, but then went a completely different direction. I have a robot I have a robot girl now on summer break in August. I have robot girl? Toxic, some people are. Yeah, I respect a difference of taste represented mutually. I can't respect it if someone is like The Last of Us 2 is bad because lady has big muscles and Ellie is gay, because that's a bad faith. That's a bad faith argument. That comes from a place of hate and maliciousness. Yeah, absolutely. If you present, if you put your thought into it and you have legitimate points you're trying to make, and it's not just based on hate or malice, you're trying to legitimately make a point, that's one thing. But if somebody is just like, the most basic form of that kind of thing that I hear sometimes is, this game or this show is dumb and you're dumb for liking it. It's like, really? That's your argument? But if someone was like, I thought the pacing could have been better, it'd be like, okay, I could see that. Yeah. Or like, I watched a movie that is, a relatively cheesy movie called The Menu. I watched that over while I was on the plane the other day. And I've been wanting to see it because of some of the clips I've seen on like YouTube shorts and stuff like that. And are there cheesy parts? Yes. But did I enjoy the film overall? Also yes, But I can accept, I was able to accept it for what it was. And I was able to kind of like, hold more realistic expectations going in because I kind of, had heard, had seen reviews and stuff that said maybe, that the plot wouldn't be, the most well developed kind of thing. All right, this was looking a little too bright on camera. I darkened it down just a little bit more, and while this Agrax Earthshade is still wet, I'm going to feather in and just do a little wet blending to keep the some highlights where I want the highlights, but not leave the whole thing super bright like before. It's funny because it looked just fine in person, but when I looked up at the screen, I was able to see, like, man, this was super bright. Okay, and I think that looks better with a little feathering there. I don't know why, but thinking of the feathering technique in painting just made me think of stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni. It made me think of a conversation my wife and I were having the other day about how that was actually a phrase. To say that something was macaroni meant it was fashionable or posh, or as we say in this day, it was pimp. And so when we say he called it macaroni, he was saying it was fly, it was pimp. If a person needs to always be right and called and all other must be wrong, it's a sign of being a narcissist. It is, and such narcissism is often on the path to being a psychopath. Ryan just had a very good discussion about this on his podcast with Spencer, Fortress of Nerditude. They talked about how everyone calling everything woke as a dog whistle is a bad faith argument. I mean, that's true. Yankee Doodle like a boss. Plots are like my instant oatmeal. It thickens. The Menu is genius. Oh, you've seen it. Satire on high society foodies and rich people. Deaf Meat did a great podcast about it. It's an elevated horror movie like Talk to Me or Hereditary. Yeah, I actually really enjoyed it. I did think that, the ending was a little bit ridiculous when people were just like, well, this is happening now. But Other than that, I mean, I thought it was a fun movie. But you know what? Some movies don't have to be like super logic A to B, you know? But it's cool. I'm glad somebody else enjoyed it. It's um it's funny because like not only did I enjoy it from the satirical standpoint, but also, you know, I'm a bit of a foodie myself, and I did do some culinary training. And I feel like if I had had the money to finish culinary school, you know, I could have made that my life happily. However, you know, I was able to. So because of that, I was able to enjoy the movie as its horror satire, you know, as the horror satire that it was, but also, you know, like a little bit of the foodie in me was able to, you know, just enjoy it on the surface level. And I gotta say, anyone who's worked in customer service before can also kind of appreciate the snapping and taking it out on the customers, because customer service can be kind of crappy sometimes. And therefore the chef kind of has an us versus them kind of attitude, you know. You're either back here, you're one of us in the kitchen, or you're out there with the diners. You are either a giver or a taker. And I was like, you know what? That is such a mood in customer service. Also, Anya Taylor-Joy is great in everything. This is the first thing I was aware of her in, but I thought her acting was definitely great. I would love to see her in more stuff. I thought she, like acting wise, I thought she was great. I thought her date was great. And I thought the head chef was great. Also, I thought the chef's assistant Elsa was pretty great too. She definitely played like a character you love to hate kind of character. Queen's Gambit and New Mutants. Check them out. Okay, I will. All right, I think the next step on our Lady Creed here tomorrow. I didn't thin out the ultramarine blue as much as I should have, so you're not seeing as much of the undershading in her coat, except for maybe on the major folds there. Of course, it is kind of hard to see because contrast does dry a little glossy. But yeah, not as much contrast in the coat. I may not have thinned down my contrast enough to see the undershading. That's fine. But yeah, tomorrow I'll be Brother Atlas will be bringing me over the blue he wants me to use for the highlights. So having down our darkest shade is no bad deal whatsoever. And then we've already started doing some shading and highlighting here on the pants. And so that's okay there. Then the leather pouches and belt. And these even extend up to a strap on her greatcoat, which I don't want to do until, you know, I'm going to want to be able to bring the model up to my face and do that as a finer detail. And some leather for the backpack and leather for the belt. And I think having out a rich dark brown, like my favorite leather color is Gore Grunter fur. Ooh, I don't know why I couldn't say that. All of those were Gore Grunter fur will be the leather of choice there. It's a nice, rich, kind of reddy brown that will a very warm colored brown that'll go here and on the straps here, and then I think that'll break up the greatcoat some. And then on top of that, we'll have the highlights there. Then some black for the gloves and boots, and I think that'll provide a nice dark point of contrast. Then we'll sand color all the rocks, and yeah, it'll be another step closer to being done. The date was Nicholas Hoult, who you can find in the new Nicolas Cage movie, Renfield, which was really good and also hilarious. Nice. So yeah, I think this is where we're going to call it tonight, guys. And you know, it's funny because I said I was only going to do a 2-hour show tonight, and we are, yeah, I might as well just finish out the next 10 minutes. Make it my normal 11 o'clock calling time. There will not be a hobby hangout tonight. Like I said, I've been on the road for 3 weeks, and I'm just going to get some rest tonight. So I hope you guys don't mind. Well, I guess we'll just go ahead and start working on the leather. Have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once? Oddest movie I've ever seen. I have not. Interestingly, we have seen it referenced in a couple of the music videos at Akon. But I haven't watched it myself. But that's another. Is that another A24 movie? I believe. A24 has been doing up a lot of stuff lately. Kind of taking this, the movie scene by storm. Alright, all I'm doing here is I'm taking some of my white and just adding hot spots, parts where I really want the leather contrast to really be nice and vibrant. And I'm not even doing that on screen because the camera turned again. Guys, I'm so pro at this. I need to like blue tack down or the camera, or find a way to stabilize the camera whenever I move it down here to the tabletop. But yeah, I'm just going to all these pouches and just adding little hot spots for the contrast paint. And this has been my favorite leather combination since I started doing orcs almost 3 years ago. Maybe 2 years ago, but I think almost 3 years ago. Is just, I do kind of the gray spots, the gray shades, just to pop out the details of my model that I prime in black. And then from there, I paint it up however I want to, but then when I get to the leather, I go and paint in some hot spots for the contrast paint. And then I'll go back later and put it on the Gore Grunter fur on top of that. And actually, I'm glad I looked at this because I originally thought this thing on the back was going to be leather color for a backpack, and as I look at it more closely, it is metallic. It looks like a oxygen tank, which makes sense because I'm seeing now that the rebreather is plugged into it. Good thing I took a second look. I say good thing. It's not like it would have been a big deal to just, go back and paint it again in the correct color, but by catching it, I'm not double working later, so that's fine. Can we not talk about getting old? Asking for a friend. V-Twin Gaming, how are you, my man? Hey, I was just telling Sorry, I couldn't talk about you. Couldn't understand your get off my lawn language. Michelle Yeoh has always been one of my favorite martial artists. She is awesome. The older I get, the more gray spots I can relate. A24, Everywhere, Everything All at Once is amazing and 100% deserved for its best picture of the year that year. Most unique take on multiverse and a very good take on estranged parental relationships. Nice. A24 has been knocking it out of the park. My first thing that I was aware of A24 was Talk to Me, but I've definitely seen their name popping up more and more everywhere. And I gotta say, as far as only knowing Talk to Me, I really, really enjoyed the movie a lot. How are you, gents, from V-Twin Gaming? We have both of the esteemed colleagues from V-Twin Gaming in the chat there. Check them out. And as always, V-Twin Gaming, you can find on our Friends of the Frost and Fists link tree down in the description below. V-Twin, I have a Vulcan 2000, a V-Twin with 2053cc. Got some motorcycle chat going on in the chat box there. Oh, V-Twin Gaming, we did a little congratulations in the chat earlier. Just found, I mean, I don't know when it was, but I just found out yesterday? Today? I want to say today, actually. Brother Rob there from the Miniatures Paintbrush. Everybody offer your congratulations because Brother Rob is engaged now. So everybody send him some love. Send him some congratulations. Send him some checks. You know, all the good stuff. All the good stuff. Now, we got a little messy with the base coat earlier. We got onto some of these gray straps for the little leather harness that she has here. So we're just going back, and then we'll probably go back to the middle of these straps and add the highlight of white. I know I told you the other day on Messenger, Brother Al at V-Twin Gaming, but just to kind of show, after I got up the next day and kind of took a look at the model, I was like, you know what, maybe I overreacted last night. This is salvageable. I went in and cleaned it up with a little brush work, and actually I'm pretty pleased with the way that glow effect came out. So thank you so much for walking me through it, my man. And on top of that, not only am I pleased with the way it came out, I definitely feel like I learned a new skill. And now there is some splatter from where the airbrush kind of erupted on this side, but that's okay. You know what? If some dirt or gore got on the glass of whatever that glowing container is, it'd be spotted like that too. So I'm okay with that. I said send him some love, send him some congratulations, send him a check. He says, just send me a Stormcast Eternals army, I could use it. Nate's Miniatures, yo! Good to see you, my man. How are you, Nate, my man? Good job with the fluorescent. Thank you so much. And yet we are just going back to a neutral color. So I've got somewhere to lay down that my leather color, the Gore-Grunter's fur. I know it's got fur in the name, but it's my favorite leather color currently. Yeah, not bad, brother. Just put on a print. I forgot hands for my orcs. Oh, you definitely got to have some hands for them. I've decided. Well, I decided back in January we did an episode about, you know, some of our goals for the year, and I made one of my goals to get my Custodes to a playable level this year. And so I'm going to try and get together a 2,000 point. Well, my goal originally, because we don't always play 2,000 points, we tend to typically play something like, you know, 1,800, something like that. Sometimes 1,600, 1,800. But my goal is to try and get a force together playable, so somewhere between 18 and 2 grand. And so I've got some actual Custodes on the go here. This was my example from the first squad I painted up. And I was on the road this week, so I took my little traveling paint station with me. And I started on the blues and the golds for the next squad. Yeah, so just trying to get them to a playable level here. And I've got sliced and ready to throw on the printer my Trajan Valoris with Henry Cavill's head. And what else? There was another. Oh, and my Blade Champion. And yeah, and then I have a Custodes Galatus, the Sword and Shield Dread that's printed. I want to print off the staff one too, just because I like both sculpts. I don't need 3 massive dreads in my Custodes army. However, I just think that the dreads look so cool, and they're not meta. I don't think I've seen any of the Custodes lists running any of the dreads lists in the meta Mondays, but I just think that the Custodes have some of the coolest looking dreads. So I'm gonna print them. I'm gonna play them. I'm gonna like them. Actually, painting some Breadmaker's Imperial Guard tonight. Got a new room set up, and I've got a lot more space for lights and camera stuff. And that's sweet. Breadmakers has some really beautiful sculpts for the garden. Look at that. I said we're only going to do a 2-hour stream tonight. We ended up going all 3 hours, and we're doing just a little bit more because I want to put these hot spots in the middle of these straps with just a little bit of white. So that way when I put that leather color over the top, you know, they won't be so one tone, you know? Yeah, I like their sculpts, great details. Exactly. I ended up, like, I've got 2 units of the Redmakers Elites for their Scions kind of replacements right now. And yeah, I've enjoyed painting them for sure. And then the way this one kind of dips underneath the shoulder like that. We're going to run a white streak on the shoulder pad there. But yeah, we're just going to put a little bit of white on the top of this strap. We're not going to go all the way under. And there we go. So tomorrow when I get to painting, we'll highlight the coat, pop out some of that definition. We'll put on the leather color for the straps. Gore-Grunter fur is my current favorite leather, and I think that rich brown of the Gore-Grunter fur would be a nice contrast to the more sandy brown of the trousers there. And of course, we'll put some black on the boots here. And I think, yeah, we'll have some good progress on that. So we've done this today. I don't even know if everything I showed you, because my camera twisted on me again. Oh my god. I don't even know if anything I just showed you was on screen there. But yeah, tomorrow we'll put that rich kind of reddish brown Gore-Grunter fur on the leather. We'll highlight up the blues on the great coat. And yeah, we'll go back and we'll blacken the pants. And I think the reddish brown of this leather here will contrast nicely to the more sandy brown of the pants. Miniatures paintbrush, new bike, new wife, new life. So happy for you. I agree, brother. The Heritage Guard I printed are a lot bigger than the Imperial Guard models. Interesting. So yeah, got some work done on her. Got some more done on him. We did start on his axe here. I made a little little mound of green stuff here, and put the axe in and let that harden up. So now, after I finish painting it, I can just glue that in. So most apothecaries, you know, they need to make, you know, do a biopsy, retrieve a sample. They've got their little razor saw here, chainsaw blade here. But a space wolf apothecary, you know, sometimes when he's got to make an amputation or he's got to get his sample, he's just got to go the old-fashioned way. I was telling people earlier that, you know, I've started in 7th edition, and until this edition, we never had apothecaries. So it only makes sense that, you know, these space wolves being new to the apothecary role, you know, they've got to go a little old school sometimes when they've got to amputate something. You'll feel a little pinch. What? So I think that'll be cool. I missed riding and let my license run out many years ago. My old commuter Yamaha RZ250 and 350 two-stroke was fun. That power band woke you up. So yeah, this is some work we've done this week, guys. It's not bad, not a bad night of painting, I don't think. Especially since we talk about some of the news a little bit, and yeah, we still got some work done tonight. So, move these guys up a little bit. I'm so good at camera orientation, guys. All right. There we go. So thank you. Cutting off their heads a little bit. There we go. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. You need to get back for your wind therapy. Thank you guys so much for watching tonight. I appreciate it. Like I said, I've been on the road all week. This is my 3rd week on the road, so I'm a bit tired tonight. So there won't be an after party tonight. We're not going to hang out and paint afterwards. I mean, you guys can feel free to. I'm going to get some rest. But thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. If you guys like tonight's content, please make sure that you grab up an ox. And I'm so sorry, V-Twin, that Nightbot just did something there. Oh, the moo. If you guys like tonight's episode, make sure that you grab up an ox and smash that like button in the name of the Emperor. Nightbot, stop it. You're being too aggressive. Drop in some comments down below, especially if you're watching from the archives. Feel free to be part of any of tonight's ridiculous conversations. If you oh my god, I know Bill says this name all the time. Telemachus. You're good to see you, Telemachus. Start over. Grab up an ox and smash that like button in the name of the Emperor. Drop us some comments down below and feel free to be part of tonight's ridiculous conversations. And if you guys are not yet subscribed to any of the friends of the Frosted Fist down in our link tree below, then please make sure you check them out. Give them a sub and make sure that you click subscribe to be part of the pack here on the Frosted Fist. Till next time, guys, stay frosty.